I would break my prosthetic limbs after every football match. You can be differently abled, you can't be disabled. So it's when you get into the car, it's only the car in you.
You see, I have sources in the Korada household. I have sources everywhere.
The first glance I had, I fell for her. Those romantic moments lasted only few seconds. The moment we realized that, we were like, damn.
That boy.
This is a lot of homework you did on me. Every rich man forgets he's a rich man when he's in the car. He's going there to go win a race.
Do you have any such quirks?
Oh, I love power naps before the race. If you're going to take away these two prosthetic limbs from me, Chetan Korada is finished.
He's India's first ever para-athlete to win a motor race and a championship. He's a double amputee who's walked a path that no one thought he would. He's a trailblazer. He's someone who may have been born with a physical disability, but he's turned his life into a magical story with supreme motor racing abilities. We're in conversation with Chetan Korada on Spotlight on Connected to India. Chetan, your life has been quite a story. Does it seem unreal at times? Do you pinch yourself in disbelief at what you've been able to achieve?
There have been occasions where I've halted and thought about my journey, but I've never felt rather content, or I've never felt that this is enough. There's a lot more to achieve. So if I'm looking at whether if everything happened was really true and was amazing, I'll say I wasn't really convinced yet. There's a lot more I need to achieve and a lot more to do.
You were born in Rajahmundry, Andhra Pradesh, but you grew up in Chennai. Surely growing up in this sports crazy city, you would have had a fascination for other sports as well initially.
I was exposed to this sports in my school, and I studied in an amazing school where my classmates, the teachers, everybody were encouraging. I was never looked at differently, and I was allowed to participate in every sport or activity which came across my eye. You know, because I feel that if you don't do it is where the real disability is going to be seen. I was able to play tennis. I was able to rather move from this part of the court to the other side really fast, and basketball I was able to sprint. I would break my prosthetic limbs after every football match, but I would also carry rolls and rolls of plasters to put it back, put my synthetic feet back, and so I could get back home in a cycle.
You make it sound so normal, and I'm assuming it must have been really painful, but you make it sound like it was just another part of your life.
Yes, because life is an adventure. You have to experience it and enjoy it. So I was enjoying every moment, so there is nothing to really crib or complain about.
Unreal. I'm in the midst of an absolute champion. Now, it's one thing to be fascinated by the world of motorsports, and it's another to choose it as a career path. What triggered it for you?
I never considered motorsports to be a serious career for me when I was a kid. I in fact never knew that I was going to become a race car driver, but I always wanted to do something towards cars. My mother is somebody who manifested on this whole idea that she wanted to make this differently able son or somebody. So I said, why not a race car driver? But we just didn't know where was a racetrack or where could we find a race cars. That eventually happened.
You know, we've all seen this iconic image of Sachin Tendulkar as a toddler playing with a plastic bat at home. Did your journey as well start with a toy car at home?
Oh yes, many toy cars. I would have suitcases and suitcases filled with toy cars.
Wow.
So the only way my mother would get through me to get me to do any task at home was to bribe me with a car.
And then you came to this age where legally you'd be able to drive a car at the age of 18, let alone being able to compete in motorsports. Was it difficult for you to get a regular driver's license about 19 years ago?
I mean, I didn't have any challenges with the RTO people. The first challenge was my mother, because she was the one who actually taught me how to drive a car, so I had to pass her test.
Wow.
She would always say, you stick to manual cars, don't go to automatic. That fun is always there, the thrill is always there in a manual car. So she was the one who I had to pass the test with. And RTO was quite easy because I didn't go there in a wheelchair or use any clutches to walk around. I just walked in like a normal guy, I drove the car and I passed my test. As simple as it.
And then the initiation into this thriller microsecond, fast and furious world of motorsports would have had its own challenges as well.
Yes, it did. In fact, my first race weekend was very dramatic because while I grew up in a very encouraging environment, let it be my school or my family, now we are hitting the reality. The real sport, we're talking about the most dangerous sport you could see out there. So, in such a highly demanding sport, people expect you to look perfect and be that, the six-pack athlete who doesn't care about what's tomorrow. But for me, it was different. It was about pursuing a big dream. Nobody really cared about what kind of dream and the intensity of it I had. I had to become a competitive driver. That was the only thought which was running in my head. And eventually, as I went competing through the years, I started fighting for the 1/10, 2/10 of a second.
Do you ever, in a moment of solitude, think of that moment you first sat in a race car, that high, that adrenaline rush, that magic moment?
When I saw the Formula car for the first time in 2006, during a track day in Chennai, so there was a small fee I paid, got into the car. My God, I didn't feel my bed was so comfortable. That cockpit was so nice to sit. And after my run of 5 laps, when I came inside, I was actually quite hesitant to get out of the car. I was like, can I sit for a little more while? It's so comfortable to sit inside this cockpit. It felt like it was made for me. So ever since then, it was rather the best office space I could have.
It is your office space, right? The cockpit of a race car. Do you feel zen-like when you sit in a car? Are you one with yourself when you're in the cockpit?
You need to have a calculated mind which is ready for the race, because there's a lot of calculated risk you'll be taking in the race. So this Zen mode is good before the race starts. Then once the engine starts, it's beast mode.
At what age did prosthetic feet or legs become a part of your life?
So when I was 4, I was fitted with the Jaipur legs, the Jaipur prosthetic limbs, which were made of wood. It wasn't easy for me and for the mother especially. Definitely when you see the child who's constantly bleeding and with a lot of discomfort and pain. And I could recollect when my mom would ask me to close my eyes and not open it until she finished counting. And by the time she would count 10, she was on the other end of the corridor. Now as a kid, I would not walk, but try to run to her. So it was quite painful for the mother to see that this kid is not crawling. He's starting to walk, now he's starting to run. But she didn't want to stop that development anyway because it was paining. She wanted me to become stronger and stronger, where I started accepting pain as just a state of mind. Erase, shift, change. So I think my whole training towards pain started off when I was 3.
You make it look so easy. You make it sound so easy. I'm sure it isn't, and it takes super strength mentally and physically to be able to go through those tribulations. The decision to turn pro, was that one moment of magic, that one decision, that one eureka moment, or did you let that thought brew in your head for a while and then slowly segue into it?
I mean, I didn't make an overnight decision about making my career professional. In fact, it was 2009 when I won my first championship, where out of 6 races, I had 5 wins and a second place. So that made me decide that I can become a serious racing driver. When I won my first championship, I'm like, hey, you can do this, you can do a lot more. So if not now, when? So that's when I decided in 2009 I'm going to take up racing very seriously.
Was there that one life-defining conversation with your mother before that decision was taken?
I was quite fortunate to have someone, I mean, as my mother, who's filled with guts, confidence, and who loved cars. So it wasn't a challenge for me to convince her that I wanted to get into motorsports. In fact, when I told her I went to the racetrack for the first time, she was very excited. I said I want to become a race car driver. She was super excited.
Wow.
I said I want to take this really serious. I want to make my identity out of this. She said, yes, I think you should grab it before another differently able comes there. I mean, I'm always encouraging and open for other differently able people to come inside. But she said, you should be the first one who can inspire the others to come inside.
Which you have. What was the first ever competitive race of your life?
Officially was on the racetrack, unofficially with my mother on East Coast Road. We both would drive different cars and try to reach back home as soon as possible. So we see who reaches first. But the official races always happen to be the Formula Marutis, where after I met my coaches is where I won my first championship.
What would you say to doctors who said that you are a potential danger to the others on a racetrack?
I said, we are human. I deserve a chance too. But if you could be patient, I could prove you wrong. So just wait and watch.
Does Indian motor racing have to thank an Englishman, a certain Mr. Hamilton, and an Italian for inspiring you?
I understood who you're talking about, Nicholas Hamilton, and we have Alex Zanardi. Yes, of course, they have set certain benchmarks for a lot of differently able drivers, people with disability and who are searching for accessibility. They were definitely motivation in the beginning. I only had this one take back from them was, nothing is impossible until you step out and decide. When you're inside, there is no giving up, there's no stopping, and you've forgotten the disability the moment you're holding the steering wheel there.
But none of that would have helped or worked the way it has if it wasn't for the magic wand of your mother, right? Mothers are magicians, aren't they?
Or totally, they're I'll say the most incredible magicians you can find around. They make your life so beautiful from complete darkness.
If you had to write a book and have one chapter about your mother, what would the first paragraph say?
I would definitely thank her in my first paragraph for able to dream the impossible and making it happen. Today she is a mentor for thousands of people out there, let it be in business and a lot of other areas. But I will say that she has passed on like true values of a winner into me. The never give up attitude. She says that you are born to win. If you are not striving to win, you might as well don't be just be a spectator out there. So if she has enabled me to actually go and succeed. So if you are seeing a differently able person out there winning a race, I think it started off with the mother's dream out there.
You've also been lucky enough to have a friend who perhaps played his part in enabling this career for you as well. Tell us about that friend and why he has been so important to your story.
Oh yes, had a schoolmate. His name is Feroz Khan, and his father Ayub Khan used to be a famous rallyist and a race car driver. Okay. And when we were in school, Feroz would steal his father's rally car and drive it to school. And I would forget that the class was happening. And I still remember the expressions of my class teacher, who was puzzled about why I ran to the window, because I heard the noise much before the car entered the campus. And I stuck my face to the grill and I was waiting for the car to enter the campus. And I would bribe him with everything in the canteen. Chubby kid. So get him everything, and I keep telling him, just take me to the racetrack one day. That's all I need. I want to go see the racetrack in person. It was a long kept promise. He made sure it happened. Not when I was in school, but after my college. We stayed in touch always. And he took me during the track day where I saw the Formula car for the very first time. And he said, dude, you should actually try it. What if you're able to try it? And that encouragement was really needed. It's not every day. You have a lot of friends who feel great and proud about what they do, but they really don't share the opportunity outside. But this guy actually he was a national champion himself. Not once or twice, many times. And the way he encouraged me enabled a lot of, I'll say, switches in my brain. He watches and follows my racing very closely. He keeps appreciating every results and every races of mine. So I'm so thankful to Feroz to bring me into the sport in 2006.
Chetan, I once read a headline in a Mumbai tabloid. It's the Mumbai Mirror in 2018. It said, he is special, but his cars are not. How do you interpret that headline?
It's very straightforward. His cars are not special. because I didn't want anything special from the other people.
Yeah.
Let it be the treatment or the cars. So nothing was special in my car. It was absolutely equal to other competitors in the field.
It's the driver that's special.
Yes, or the mindset.
Motorsports is an expensive sport. I believe the carbon fiber prosthetics that you use, those that come from Europe, are as expensive as a super bike. Is it true?
Pretty much. It's like, for me, I feel that I'm buying a super bike every 3-4 years. I got to keep upgrading my prosthetic feet with the newest ones.
Now, Chetan, there are various enablers in a top level athlete's life. QNet came into your life in 2011 like a godsend. What was that first conversation with QNet like, and how has that relationship with them evolved over time?
I mean, yes, to be successful, to reach a very big goal, you need an enabler. And QNet has been that God-sent enabler in my life. And not only for my racing career, but even for my family today. We have been part of QNet very actively. From the time they have sponsored me from 2011, I have seen the tremendous support they have given me. They were not concerned about the outcome, if I'm going to win the further races or championships, or if I'm going to bring them big name. They just saw a dream, and the dream had a lot of meaning. And they told me every single race, they always told me that they were very proud of what I was doing. Of course, that softens you, pampers you. But at the same time, they said, don't give up on the next one. We need the next one.
And so it seems like QNet's role in your life is as much about being emotionally invested in your journey as it is about signing a big check for you.
So it was more than just signing a check for them. They wanted to just not enable my dream, but help inspire a lot of differently able or able people's dreams. They wanted to enable them through me. So that's what we saw.
Among the others that helped you was also the former FMSCI president, Mr. Akbar Ibrahim, and his son Arman Ibrahim as well.
Yes, very true. And they still play a very crucial role in my career till date. So when I got trained with him in 2009, I understood that what I was doing was totally opposite of what I'm supposed to be doing in a car. So I drove it like a regular road car. That's not how you drive a race car. Just after his training is when I won my first cup. I had that 5 wins and a second place. And it was a very dominating wins I had that weekend, I remember. So then I understood that coaching really played a very important part in my career. If that coaching wasn't there, I would have just been a normal driver, retiring at a point of time, understanding that this is not your thing. Yeah. You have no knack for racing. So I think the father and son duo had played a very important role in my career.
What's the best piece of coaching advice you've received?
The best piece of advice I got in my training was through Akbar itself. The best thing he has taught me, which has been working till date, was find a way around to get the objective done.
Is your definition of disability different from lesser mortals like us? How do you define disability?
Firstly, disability cannot apply to the body. Disability applies only to the brain.
Wow.
So the ability can be changed. You can be differently abled. You can't be disabled. There's no way you can be disabled. With today's technology, you can still be differently abled, right? A person who cannot speak can still find a way to communicate using technology. That's where I felt that, the whole software is what really matters. Hardware can be altered somehow. So what if I had only 3/4 of my limb left? We used some extra hardware called the prosthetics. But I think the software had to be tuned to make that work first, the hardware to work properly.
Chetan's dropping absolute pearls of wisdom for all of us here on Connected to India. Now, a lot of top-level athletes do different things to get into the zone. Some read a specific book, some have a favorite song, some watch TED Talks. What do you do?
What I enjoy the most before getting into the car is cracking jokes with my friends. I carry my friends along with me in the races. We have hilarious talks because it's important to go with a very cool mind. Stressed mind, not good for any sport, absolutely. And what happens before I get into the track? Oh God, nobody wants to be next to me. Especially, I'll say, my family members like to leave me alone during a race weekend. Yes, I get too anxious. Because this motorsports has made me the person I am today. So, the fear of failure is constantly there in my mind. But when I reach the circuit, I erase everything first. No anxiety issues, reset button, get into the happy mode. Don't talk about what is going to happen in the race. Keep friends who can crack jokes. Talk everything else apart from racing. So it's when you get into the car, it's only the car and you. Then the conversation starts between both of you.
While all this is very intense and very heavy duty, let's talk about the happiest lap of your life, where your heart was racing, the year 2016, where you met someone who came into your life with a lot of happiness and a big challenge as well. Tell us about that.
I mean, that was a very remarkable year. The whole reason I went to Bangalore in 2016 was different than what compared to what actually happened there. I was supposed to be a chief guest for an event which happened, and I stayed at the same hotel where the event was happening. I very well remember the reception people when I was checking in said, your event is happening on the rooftop. And I was literally in my high of my career at that point of time. And I asked them, I just want to do some workouts. I just need open space. I just have a mat. I want to work out. Said, you can go to the same place. So while the whole preparation for the event was happening, and I said, okay, chalo, at least I can get a glimpse of the event. And I had to pass the hall while going to the venue. I mean, the space where I could do my workout. And that's when I had my first glance of her.
Of who?
My wife. So Manasa was the best chapter, I will say. A very colorful chapter. I still been living so happily with. So it's the first glance I had, I fell for her. But I wasn't easy for her, and nor was she easy. We became friends the very same day we met, and I managed to walk up to her and had a conversation, not understanding that she was waiting for a year to even have a chat with me.
Stud boy.
Yeah, and she was a big fan of my mother before me. So, and that was our first meeting, and I got a day. Next day, I manned up and I said, can I take you for a date? And I spent a day with her and I got to know her. So when I met her for the second time, and she said, I've found new perspectives and rather new objectives in life I want to really work on. I asked very interestingly, what are they? She said, it's you, I don't want to go for the pageant. I want to get married to you. I went bonkers. I hesitated in the beginning. I said, the main heroine role of my life is one person. She has to agree to it, my mother. So she understood, because she understood that when it is Chetan, it is his mother Padma who has to decide. She always wanted to choose the life partner.
Okay.
But eventually it turned out to be that way. And she said, I have to choose the girl. I said, okay. And are you sure about this? I said, I'm very sure she's the one I want to settle my life with. She happened to speak to the girl's family already without me knowing. And she happened to set the marriage.
Chetan, they say men lose their head in love. But you lost your way on your honeymoon in Paris. What's that story?
Looks like somebody has done a lot of homework.
You see, I have sources in the Korada household. I have sources everywhere. And everyone's pulled in with this research.
I mean, it's very rarely I get to hear these kind of questions, and nobody has really known about what happened during my honeymoon. But yes, since the question is out, let me answer it. We had quite a bit of adventure during our honeymoon. Our first destination was Paris. And how can we miss out on the Eiffel Tower? So when we went over there, we were lost. Lost as in lost in the scenic. I'll say the moods were really high. We really wanted to go on top of the Eiffel Tower. And I remember very well I left my bag at the registration counter, which had the passports inside.
Whoa.
We didn't realize we left those until we went to the top. And those romantic moments lasted only few seconds. The moment we realized that, we were like, damn, We left the passports down there. And we were warned by the travel agent, be careful with people in Paris. Don't be too careless. And the same speed we went up, we came back down.
Yeah.
Worrying about the passports were absolutely safe. There was the security there who were very sweet and kind, held on to the passports until we came back. But we had laughed throughout the, on the way to the hotel. We were just laughing about it.
Are you different when you drive a regular car on the busy roads of Chennai? Do you lose your cool, or what is it like?
Before racing, yes, I was reckless, careless like any teenager out there. But I had my mother grounding me most of the times, who said, if you want to race, go do it on a go-karting track.
Yeah.
Go find a racetrack to do all this.
Yeah.
Which I took very seriously before I touched got into my adulthood. When I was 18, I think I was more mature in my driving, and I would keep all the speed thrills to the racetrack and not on the regular roads. Because I feel that reaching the destination from point A to point B is important. It's not about the time. But I don't think I would put anybody in danger or cause inconvenience to people on the road, because let it be students or my own kids tomorrow.
Yep.
I don't want to look as a bad example out there.
So the moral of the story is that even a real life race driver does not drive like a race driver on the regular roads of Chennai. So there's a lesson to be learned for all of us there. Lovely. Chetan, you're a very candid conversationalist. You seem like someone who enjoys philosophy. Is there a religious, spiritual side to you as well?
Oh yes, there is. I will say that being conscious, being aware of who you are, is being spiritual first. Gratitude is the first step of spirituality, which I practice every day. My mother taught me this. She said, don't feel bad it didn't happen for you. You didn't get it, whatever. The happiest person is a person who's living with gratitude to what we eat today, to what we drink, to what we, even speaking to a person, I'll say it's a master plan. Today we are meeting and having a chat. It's a master plan. Yeah. So all gratitude for the people who made this happen.
What are your conversations with yourself like?
I spend a lot of time alone. Sometimes when I feel too much of what's happening around me, especially in Chennai, I take a break. I step out of the city. I sit all alone, even for a week. And that's when I tend to have conversations. What did I miss out on doing, and how can we bring that back to make it happen now? Because when they say things cannot be undone, I don't believe in that. You keep getting chances in life. You keep getting chances, if it's a blessing to wake up the next morning. And if that happens, I'll say, if you missed out on something, make it happen again. I think the biggest failure is when you stop the process, or you stop doing something which you're meant to do.
I've been told you enjoy solitude more because you get to very quietly, far from the prying eyes of your wife. You manage to eat something sugary, something sweet every night or on race night. Is that true?
This is a lot of homework you did on me. I hope you didn't speak to my fitness consultant yesterday, right?
You never know.
I mean, yes, worst habit. I have a sweet tooth. I'm a victim of sweets. I love eating sweets. Even sweet conversations, I'm fallen for it. This my wife is aware of.
What about movies? Romantic movies over action films, or do you prefer movies with a lot of thrill? Because your life on the circuit has a lot of thrill as well. So,
yes, they're a very particular genre of movies I really enjoy. First being comedy. I feel that the healthy mind is a happy mind, or the happy mind is always a healthy mind.
yeah.
So I enjoy first comedy. Second, I enjoy watching a lot of documentaries and biopics, and any movies related to sports.
Since you mentioned documentaries, all of us have watched that Netflix documentary, Drive to Survive, and that piece of content gives us the impression that life on the circuit is extremely cutthroat. It can be political, it can be bitter, it can be acrimonious as well. Is that the case on the circuit for you as well, or is there a fair bit of friendship and camaraderie?
There's no friendship in racing. I mean, there is a lot of politics. My sport is filled with a lot of politics. Everybody wants to grow. You know, it's a race. Literally, we're talking about racing. Racing in machines and racing in real life. You know, everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants to be somebody in that sport. You know, because it's a very small percentage who remain either still living or still serving. So it's literally a death race out there. But I'll say it's the people you choose, the circle you choose, which still keeps you active into the sport.
What would you change about the Indian motorsport scenario?
Create more opportunities, create more awareness.
Okay.
Stop cribbing that this sport or that sport is famous than racing. You're the ambassador of the sport. You know, we could be 100 drivers in the weekend or thousands of drivers across rally and racing. All of us are ambassadors. You got to make noise about the sport. You can't crib and say only cricket gets the fame or football gets the fame. They made more noise. Your cars are only making noise. Let them out make more noise. If it's a message to all the riders and drivers or enthusiasts, I'll say who else can represent the sport better than you? So make that noise.
For anyone who wants to get into this world, become a racer eventually in life, is getting that first taste of motorsports as simple as just renting a race car, or is there more to it?
Honestly, very simple. Just that it looks so complicated.
Yeah.
People don't want to look onto the other side of the wall. Hey, I approached my classmate. I said, take me to the track, and I went to the track. I drove a race car. There's so many scholarship programs. There's so many events, grassroots level events like go-karting events, which have been existing for a very long time. It's still happening also now.
Yeah.
Get part of it. Get your first-hand experience. I have been training. I have trained more than 50 drivers in the last 4 years. The ones who have been already driving or new ones. We have enabled them to become competitive drivers. They have never touched a race car in their life. They would have probably seen one on a picture. But they're living the dream today. So I will say, this is the taste. We want to show these people so they explain the world. Motorsports is affordable and accessible. That is what we wanted.
Yep, sounds a lot doable than it's seen before this interview. Very quickly, 3 must-have qualities in a good racer.
Don't give up attitude. Don't be a whiner. And 3, consistency.
What about the relationship between the chief engineer and a race driver? Is it a bit like finding the right life partner? Does it take as much to be able to find the right engineer? What's that dynamic like?
It's a very critical relationship a competitor can have. Because if it's somebody you really want to please on the track,
Yeah.
it's not the organizers or your sponsors, it's the engineer. Because if the engineer doesn't have the trust
Yeah.
in the way you're going to handle the machine, why is he going to give us 100% in building that machine even? My engineer played a very important role in my life. He mostly managed me even. So I met him in 2015 and his name was Peter John Allnut. And I would say that he was all nuts all the time. That kind of energy and passion he carried even in his 70s before we lost him 2 years ago. He was an Englishman, but loved by a lot of Tamil boys and girls, who worked under him. So when I got his attention in 2015 during my first test in the 1600s, he was shocked. He was like, wait, how are you able to walk with those 2 prosthetic limbs? I said, this is the first time you're seeing anybody walk like this. He said, yeah, because, people are laid back. I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm like, okay, don't speak to me that way again. So he was quite shocked when I said that. He said, why? Did I offend you? I said, no, you're just trying to calm me down. Don't do that. I'm not that kid who's looking for sympathy out here. Okay? So let's talk about driving. He said, okay, let's go with it. And I was matching up to the pole setter's time in a Formula 1600 car. And I remember his words. He said, you're doing great. I'm just a little upset that you're born on the wrong side of the planet. So that words actually hit me really hard. I'm like, so this man actually appreciates and believes that I'm a good driver. You know, when you hear it from somebody who's having 50 years plus, of experience in motorsports, say that I was just upset that you were born on the wrong side of the planet. You should have been celebrated for the way you drive. I'm like, I've not heard this. I'm not used to these statements. And he said, you're the same kid who said, don't speak to me so softly, no sympathy, but you just fell for my words. I said, no, nobody has said this in the past. But the residues which he left behind, that be the people and the people he trained, everything has made me what I am today.
Much like any other proud Indian athlete, the tricolor is an extremely powerful motivator for you as well.
Yes, I always have the pride of being a proud Indian. I'll say a great, strong-gutted Indian when I'm wearing a flag over my helmet. It's colored in orange, white, and green, and you have the chakra. And I'll say it's a very special feeling when I'm wearing the helmet.
It is a very demanding sport, isn't it? Chetan, talk us through the rigors of your physical and mental preparation, your training for a race.
Well, it's a very physically and mentally demanding sport.
Yeah.
We cannot do those regular fitness routines like any other athletes or people who do general fitness, because the kind of load which your neck takes during those high-speed corners, the G-force you experience, the amount of brake pressure you give. Sometimes we have driven cars between 70 to 90 bars of brake pressure, which is around 80 kilos to 90 kilos of brake pressure. Don't you think personally this is a very physically demanding sport? Because if you're switched off even for a second, you could imagine. You have seen, I'm sure you would have seen a lot of incidents and crashes on different videos or anything on social media. But staying switched on mentally, mental fitness, most important. As the doctors asked me in 2007, they said you could be potential danger to other drivers. I said, no, it's not me. The ones who are having mental disability, you have to be worried about, not me actually. So I'll say this mental tuning is very important. We watch what we eat. It's very important. So I stay more on the vegetarian side. I enjoy eating a lot of eggs. I do fitness almost every day. I wouldn't go too intense, but keeping your body ready for a competition is important. So keeping your body flexible, able to bear that kind of load, the G-force, keeping your neck strong is what is important as a driver. So we pretty much, I will say, once you're a racing driver, you start getting yourself sorted.
Wow, this is enlightening. This is an eye-opener for all those who don't know much about motorsports. And I'm sure a lot of people might be wondering what really is the difference between Formula 1, 2, 3 and 4?
I mean, Formula 1 is definitely the pinnacle of Formula racing or single-seater racing. The fastest machines you can find, the sophisticated technology inside, and that has been a candy from our childhood. When it's definitely defined by the horsepower and the technologies you use inside, of course. You get to go all out with the technology and the money you have to bring the fastest of the machines out there. Yeah. You're producing anything over 800, 900 horsepower or more. And if you get into Formula 2, which is a level lower than Formula 1, because the winners of Formula 2 or the champions become the new age drivers of Formula 1, the next reserve drivers or the seat winners in Formula 1. And say where you come down to Formula 3, it's lesser in horsepower again. But all these cars, even Formula 4, the designs look similar.
Yeah.
The car, the sizes could vary, I would say very small margins, not huge. The same, I will say, fundamentals of aerodynamics, the technology is the same, but the horsepowers are different. So what a Formula 1 driver experiences in a Formula 1 car due to higher speed cars, they experience more G-force, more weight loss, and more drama.
What's the one truth you wish every motorsports fan knew? Is there a misconception that you'd like to clear?
Misconceptions have definitely been there from day one. I got into the sport. I've been watching a lot of my friends or the general public outside. They don't understand the sport. They just feel this is like horse racing. This is not gambling. You're giving your life out there to go win a race. So if you're wondering if there's betting or anything happening in a race, absolutely not. Every rich man forgets he's a rich man when he's in the car. He's going there to go win a race. That, is basically enabling that athlete mode inside.
And there are so many layers to being a race driver. I wonder if it takes a lot out of you to be able to unwind or switch off after a race.
It is very important to switch off. It's a very good question you asked, because what happens after the race? We're not sitting there and breaking our head about the machine or what went wrong. I think it's very important to you go and sit with your colleagues and your other participants, who you call friends. Friends, sit down, have a chat, because you talk everything except the cars of the race. That's where you unwind yourself.
Is there a pre-race or a post-race superstition that you have?
There are certain things I definitely do consciously or subconsciously, which has been a habit from my childhood. Before a process, I do a small prayer to myself, with myself, and keeping myself safe and bring myself back into the pits, of course. And I have this habit of getting into the car from the left side of the car for some reason, the race car.
Virendra Sehwag used to sing while he used to bat. Do you have any such quirks?
Oh, I love power naps before the race, inside the cockpit. So I get into the car 15 minutes before the pit lane opens. I'm sure I go through a 5 to 10 minute power nap. Only the mechanic knows, and now people are seeing it, that people know it, that I snore. 5 to 10 minutes I'm snoring. But for people who notice me close my eyes in the helmet, they ask me, what did you just do? Nothing, I was just meditating. I am not a guy who meditates, of course. I say, no, I'm meditating. But I'm actually on a power nap, because that wakes me up for the competition for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So that is a very, something which I feel I need before the competition, and that too inside the cockpit.
Some young fans might imagine, no, since Chetan is from Chennai, maybe he watches a Rajnikant movie before a race or on the eve of a race. Does that happen as well at times?
Oh, I listen to Rajnikant music on the way to the track. Not only Rajnikant. I enjoy watching South Indian movies. Let it be Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu, Kannada. I listen to music.
Yeah.
And that keeps me in like high vibes. And no, Rajnikant's music though, it's like, what, even if you're in a sad mood, you suddenly just wake up with high vibes.
Favorite Talaiva song?
There are too many favorites of his song. It's a playlist.
Sing a couple of lines from your favorite.
Oh, let's skip that. I can make good tunes from the engine, not from my mouth.
That reminds me, there is a DJ side to Chetan Korada as well. DJ Chetan, I wouldn't have imagined until it came up in my research. DJ Chetan, tell us about that.
I started DJing when I was 16.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I was listening to a lot of music at home, yes, my mom understood that I like music. And I told her, I want to become a DJ. It was not the same expression like when I spoke about racing. She was like, what the hell are you saying? I'm like, yeah, I want to become a DJ. She was like, okay, fine, but where you got to play the music.
That's not the track you should be thinking about.
Yes, you're thinking of a whole new different track. But however, she always had the trust in me that, he's going to go play some music. And she understood that love I had towards music. And music and racing go along pretty well. So I DJed for 8 solid years. I enjoyed that life as a DJ.
Your story is so fascinating. It's almost like I'm seeing a movie play out in front of me. How about a biopic on your life? Have people approached you? Would you be interested?
Quite a few times. I've been approached to speak about my story. Yes, I do enjoy talking my story and my whole journey. Well, my first answer for people who ask me about directing a biopic on me, I said, I'm not finished yet. There's a lot more I'm still doing, and rather I'm at the high of my career right now. So wait and watch. There's a lot more content you could actually use.
Many more chapters are yet to be written.
Yes. So content is under creation at the moment.
Do you ever think about life after motorsports? Has that thought crossed your mind yet?
Oh yes, it's the most scariest feeling I can have, because I could have been known as a cripple if not for motorsports. So If you ask me which is the best side and the brighter side of motorsport, I'll say driving. And if I'm not going to be in the driving seat, it's going to be weakening me a bit. So even recently when I had a conversation with my mother, and when she spoke about retirement, because she said, you're getting close to 20 years of driving, you got to give the kids the chance. I don't know why that happened. I just broke down. I said, no, I'm just not able to imagine myself outside the car. So it's not an easy feeling or an easy decision yet. So I've given myself another 3-4 years. I mean, I like planning 3 to 4 years. Then we see what happens after that.
There are many more laps left in his motor racing career, isn't it?
A lot more, my friend.
Right, Chetan, finally, if you had the superpower to rewrite your life story, how differently would it turn out?
No, I wouldn't change anything from my career or rewrite anything, because every moment, every memory, or the people who are involved through my career played a very important role, and those shouldn't be rewritten. And those moments which I've experienced is so special, because if something needs to be changed, it'd rather be the timeline. I would change the timeline. I would compress few years to make it shorter and crisp. One of those most memorable moments was when my mother came back from a medical conference after meeting orthopedic surgeons who gave her the hope that your son can walk around normally with flesh and bones. There's so much of technology, this implants. So I didn't pay attention to it when she even spoke out of so much excitement. She came back home glimmering with excitement, saying that, you know what, you can walk like a normal person. I spoke to this doctor, you don't have to wear prosthetics anymore. First I was laughing and I felt sad. As I looked at my mom, I just shook her and I said, you really want to do this? She said, why not? I'm your mother, walking. To see you walk with normal legs would be a dream. I said, no. You're breaking a lot of people's dream and probably hopes. If you're going to take away these 2 prosthetic limbs from me, Chetan Korada is finished. All that I've achieved is over, gone into air. What I am today, what I'm known for, is because of the prosthetic limbs. There are so many people waiting to get inspired. They want to achieve so much because I inspired them somewhere. Don't erase me out of this world. I think that was like a shake for both of us. We shook each other so much that she felt really proud as a mother. I could see that in her eyes. Never did I feel any regret that I was born this way. This was a blessing. I made my disadvantages advantages. I challenged every challenge which came forward to me. So if there's something which has to be rewritten, I'll say nothing. You got to be proud and carry the pride of who you are all the time. You are special.
Aren't we all glad that it turned out the way it did? Chetan, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.